What a challenge to describe what happened to me. I will do my best to describe it. I was pregnant after several miscarriages in a row. I started having the most painful and advanced miscarriage yet. The pain was overwhelming. The doctors there thought I was exaggerating until I took one physician's hands and placed them on my rib cage. I was rushed into an X-ray. Afterwards, I was diagnosed with advanced stage malignant, high serum ovarian cancer. The ovarian cancer guidelines suggest that women die when those numbers are in the 500s. My number was 1,126. My entire abdomen and pelvis were filled with tumours. The original tumour on one of my ovaries was about the size of a grapefruit, and my albumin fluid was filled with well-developed cancer cells that had spread everywhere. I was rushed into surgery in the company of 2 oncological cancer surgeons who believed that I would not recover. I did survive. After a couple rounds of chemotherapy, I agreed with my oncology team to participate in a full hysterectomy and explorative surgery to remove cancer tumours. The doctors performed a scope, but it was difficult to see around the size of the originate tumour. Upon more advanced surgery, scar tissue was also found in my colon from where the cancer was spread. So part of my colon was removed by an additional surgeon. While on chemotherapy, I was administered blood thinners. I lost blood from the time of diagnosis until the day my uterus, ovaries, cervix, and part of my colon was removed. I dropped out of consciousness after waking up from surgery and from all of the blood loss. I was administered norepinephrine in through my chest port. Although my doctors expected to see some improvement from chemotherapy and surgery, I was not expected to make an absolute recovery. My cancer numbers did drop from 1,126 to subclinical, where it has stayed for a little over a year now. I don't actually expect to see a recurrence, although the statistics say I have less than 5 years to live and should have never recovered from cancer. I want to describe a few out-of-body experiences that I had during the entire process. Some OBEs happened while I was waking, and one OBE occurred when I dropped out of consciousness, requiring an adrenaline-like medicine and a blood transfusion after surgery. The first out-of-body occurred while the cancer was spreading and before doctors definitively acknowledged that I had cancer. I'm a sex trafficking survivor, and before the tumour was discovered, I described the cancer pain as rape injuries. A few times in a row during this time and in prayer or meditation, I was visited by a light. It looked like a turquoise orb entering my chest and telling me that I was about to heal incredibly. I started reading books about healing and gaining weight by bodybuilding, listening to the light as I fell asleep. When the cancer was found by doctors in the emergency room and I was transported to Denver, I was with the light. I could see myself below, getting the news. Every time another doctor came in crying, I couldn't stop laughing. It was the opinion of my first medical team that I was confused about the information they were giving me about the terminal nature of my illness and that I needed some sort of therapy to process. I felt the light hovering over me, telling me a different story. I was hovering with it about 6 feet above my body. I felt relaxed. The cancer treatment and surgery were painful, but most of the time I was actually hovering outside of my body, having a ridiculously good laugh with the light, which was reflected in my physical behaviour. I just couldn't stop laughing. The diagnosis, the pain, the chemo, the surgery, it made me laugh hysterically. I already knew I was going to beat it. Whenever I told my doctors I was going to beat it, they would cry for me and for my husband. The light put me inside of their hearts to understand what they were feeling. They were so mentally perturbed by my happy demeanour and sureness. They cried again when after surgery I was expected to at least have some cancer left. Instead, I had and still have none. Ha ha! When I was fully outside of my body during surgery and from blood loss shock, I didn't want to come back at all. I could see the beautiful souls of the doctors, both their eternal and temporal selves. Their temporal selves were filled with fear, but much of their purpose in being surgeons and oncologists specifically held so much love from their eternal selves. They were so beautiful. Their souls and all of the souls on the other side are so whole. I felt in my soul what would happen to my husband's heart if I were to either die of blood loss or die of cancer. So I decided definitively that I wasn't going to have a recurrence of cancer. Even if doctors thought there was something deadly in my and treated it on their medical level, I had no intention of dying of cancer. I remember one of my surgeons finding me alone one time when my husband had left to get food and a few beers. She started yelling at me, your illness, and claiming that I would have it for the rest of my life. I thought about that idea. I don't have any illness. I'm fine. They said I had an unusually high pain tolerance, but I was holding myself up with the light. I was technically about 6 feet above my own body for most of the experience. The other side is really great. There isn't any pain. The colours are brighter. This is what I noticed from choosing to enter back into my physical form in this dimension. I felt the pain in my heart in the form of heartbreak. It's from when one of my parents jumped from a bridge and I was sex trafficked. I was a lost child with more than one name. I was just a body to them. That's what caused my body to collapse and fall to little broken DNA and cancer cells. I tested negative for genetic aspects of ovarian cancer development, but I already understood that the heartbreak is what made my body give me the option to leave. Although some women exit a cancer experience wanting to write a book, I really like typing up reports for my husband, who is a law enforcement officer. I don't spend any time on social media anymore. I only nanny one child and privately cater for one person. I took up drinking red wine and watching a fire burn. I like cleaning my house. In the summer, I love to go outside for most of the day. I used to work all of the time. Now I like to write in my journal in different coloured markers and think what it would have been like if my baby had lived. I feel substantially more emotionally sensitive than before the experience. I didn't want my husband to know the kind of heartbreak that I felt throughout most of my life from trauma and loss, so I decided to beat cancer and stay here for now. In the future, when it's my time to pass, I will be equally excited about that, as I was with beating a terminal cancer diagnosis. The other side feels expansive and beautiful. It is like all of the things that broke your heart are finally lifted. We all have such beautiful light inside. I can only be around people and instances that bring out the light in me. I've enjoyed writing this.